The review is still there in the morning. 1 star. Posted at 11:47 on a Tuesday night, when most people are asleep, and the ones who aren't are usually angry about something specific. Unprofessional, overpriced, and difficult to work with. Would not recommend to anyone. Freya reads it a second time, then a third. She's been running her catering business for 6 years. 6 years of 5 a.m. prep, of driving an hour each way for a venue walkthrough, of staying until the last glass is cleared, because that's what she promised. She has 41 reviews. 40 of them are 5 stars. One of them, posted last night by an account called TruthTeller2024, is this. She checks her booking records first. It's the logical thing to do. If a client had a bad experience, a real one, there would be a paper trail. A name, a date, an invoice, some kind of correspondence. She scrolls back 3 months. Nothing matches. No event on that date. No client by any of the names she can see on the account profile. The account is 3 days old. The profile photo is a stock image. She finds the original in under 4 minutes. A Getty image of a woman smiling in a park, available for commercial licensing. The account has left exactly 1 review. Hers. This is the part where most people would write a professional response, flag it for removal, and move on. Freya almost does that. She types the first sentence of a reply twice, deletes it both times. Because something is itching at her. Not the review itself, the email. When a review comes in on her business profile, she gets a notification. Just a ping, sender address truncated. She'd barely looked at it when it came through last night. But she pulls up the full header now, and the sender domain stops her cold. She has seen that domain before. She doesn't know where yet. She just knows she has. And Freya, who has spent 6 years running a small business entirely alone, tracking every invoice, every supplier contact, every vendor negotiation in a single color-coded spreadsheet, does not let things go until she knows where she's seen them. She opens her contacts list. There it is, sitting in the C's, exactly where she filed it 4 years ago. The email address attached to the TruthTeller2024 account belongs to her mother-in-law. Her name is Sylvia. She has never hired Freya. She has never attended a Freya-catered event. She has never, not once, in 4 years of family dinners and holiday gatherings and the occasional pointed silence across a kitchen table, said a single word to Freya about her business being overpriced or difficult or anything else. What she has said, in ways that were always deniable, always wrapped in the syntax of concern, is that she wasn't sure a catering business was sustainable. That Patrick could do better than waiting around for Freya to build something. That it was admirable, really, how hard Freya worked, given that it hadn't quite taken off the way she'd hoped. Freya had filed those comments the same way she filed everything. Logged, noted, set aside for later. This is later. She sits with the knowledge for a full minute before she does anything else. Not because she's unsure, because she wants to be precise about what she does next, and precision requires stillness. 6 years of building something. 41 reviews, 40 of them earned 1 event at a time. 1 fake account, 3 days old, 1 stock photo, 1 email address she knows by heart. And a husband who, when she looks up from her laptop and finds him making coffee in the kitchen, is going to have to answer a question she never thought she'd need to ask. She closes the laptop. She picks up her coffee. She has been collecting data points her whole marriage without knowing that's what she was doing. The shape they make, now that she can finally see the whole picture, it is not the shape of a misunderstanding. It is the shape of a campaign. And the woman who launched it made one mistake. She used an email address Freya already had. Patrick is exactly the kind of man who is easy to love and hard to read. That's not a criticism, it's an observation. the kind Freya has been making for 7 years, filed away with everything else she's ever noticed and never quite known what to do with. He's warm, genuinely warm. He remembers birthdays and makes good coffee and knows, without being told, when she needs quiet versus when she needs company. He was the first person who ever made her feel like her ambition wasn't an inconvenience. When she told him she wanted to leave her corporate job and build a catering business from scratch, he didn't flinch. He said, "Tell me what you need." She needed startup capital. She needed someone to believe her numbers made sense. She needed, more than anything, someone to not make her feel like she was being reckless. Patrick gave her all of it. What he did not give her, what he has never quite managed to give her in 7 years, is a clear picture of his mother. Sylvia came into Freya's life the way a weather system comes in. You don't notice it building. You just notice one day that the air has changed. She was pleasant at first, curious. She asked questions about the business with what seemed like genuine interest. What kind of events? What kind of clients? What was the growth plan? Freya answered everything. She liked having someone to talk through the numbers with, even if the conversation always ended with Sylvia tilting her head slightly to one side and saying something like, "That's brave. I really admire brave people." Brave. Not smart, not sound. Brave. It took Freya 2 years to understand that every compliment Sylvia gave her was built on a foundation of doubt. The comments were never direct. That's the thing about Sylvia. She has never once said anything that could be cleanly quoted back at her as cruel. She operates in the space between what is said and what is meant, and she is very, very good at making that space feel like your problem. If you leave a conversation with her feeling vaguely smaller, that's on you for being sensitive. She was only asking questions. She was only expressing concern. She loves Patrick so much. She just wants what's best for him. What is best for Patrick, according to Sylvia, has never once included Freya. Freya figured this out at the 2-year mark and made a decision. She would be impeccable. She would give Sylvia nothing to work with. She would show up to every family event gracious and grounded and entirely unrattled. She would build her business into something so undeniably real that the concern-shaped doubts would run out of air. She has 41 reviews. 40 of them are 5 stars. Had. Past tense. Before last night. If you're watching this and you've ever had someone work against you in ways that were impossible to prove, stay with me, because this is where it gets specific. Patrick sets down his coffee when she shows him the review. She watches his face move through 3 distinct expressions in under 4 seconds. The first is confusion. The second is recognition. The third, the one he tries to smooth over before she can clock it, is something closer to resignation. That third expression is the one she focuses on. "Do you recognize the email address?" she asks. He picks his coffee back up. Here is what Freya knows about Patrick that she has never said out loud. He is loyal to his mother in the way that people are loyal to things they've never been forced to examine. Not because he thinks she's right, because examining it would require him to hold 2 things at once: that he loves his mother and that his mother is capable of harm. And he has never been willing to do that work. Freya has watched him not do that work for 7 years. She has waited and built her business and been impeccable and believed, somewhere quiet and stubborn inside herself, that eventually the evidence would become too clear to look away from. The evidence is now on her phone screen. 1 star, 3 days old. 1 stock image. 1 email address she has had in her contacts since the day Patrick's mother handed her a business card at their first family dinner. "In case you ever need anything, darling." And Freya, because she was meticulous about these things, filed it under C for Cunningham. Patrick is still holding his coffee. He has not yet answered her question. And in the silence between them, Freya understands something she has been circling for 7 years without ever landing on it directly. This was never going to resolve itself quietly. It was only ever going to get to this point, her with the evidence in her hand, and him deciding right now, in real time, whose side he was actually on. Patrick says it was probably a mistake. Not those exact words. He doesn't lead with that. He leads with a long exhale and a careful repositioning of his coffee mug on the counter, which is something he does when he's buying himself time to find the version of the truth that costs him the least. "I'm sure there's an explanation," he says. There is an explanation. Freya has the explanation. The explanation is that his mother created a fake account 3 days ago, attached it to an email address she handed out at family dinners, and used it to leave a 1-star review on a business she has watched Freya build for 6 years. That is the explanation. What Patrick means when he says he's sure there's an explanation is that he would like there to be a different one. Freya puts her phone on the counter between them, screen up, review visible. She doesn't say anything else. She has learned, over 7 years, that the most useful thing she can do in moments like this is stop talking and let the silence do the work. Patrick will fill it. He always fills it. "She wouldn't do that," he says. "The email address is hers. Email addresses get compromised. People get hacked." "Patrick." He stops. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. She just says his name in the tone she reserves for moments when she needs him to understand that they have passed the point where careful, deniable language is going to be enough. "The account is 3 days old," she says. "It has left 1 review. It's a stock photo from Wettedy, and the email address has been in my contacts since 2020, filed under your mother's name, because she gave me her card at your family's Christmas dinner and told me to call her if I ever needed anything." Patrick looks at the phone. He looks at it for a long time. This is the moment Freya has been waiting for, not with dread, not with anger, but with the particular stillness of someone who has already done the emotional math and is now simply watching the numbers confirm what she calculated. She has 41 reviews, 6 years of work, 1 fake account, and a husband who is standing in their kitchen right now, deciding whether to see what is plainly in front of him or to keep choosing the story that costs him nothing. What would you do in her position? Would you push, or would you wait him out? Tell her in the comments, because where he lands in the next 60 seconds changes everything that happens after. He puts the mug down. "I'll talk to her," he says. 3 words. That's what 6 years of business building, 40 reviews, 1 fake account, and a Wettedy stock photo buys her. 3 words and the promise of a conversation she will not be in the room for. Freya nods. She picks up her phone. She flags the review for removal. Platforms don't always act on these, she knows that, but she flags it anyway, because she does the thing in front of her. She always does the thing in front of her. Then she opens a new tab and does something Patrick doesn't see. She searches the reviewer's email address. Not on Google. On a data aggregation site she used once, years ago, when a supplier dispute required her to track down a contact who'd gone quiet. The kind of site that pulls publicly associated data from multiple sources: forum accounts, subscription lists, old web profiles, anything attached to that address over time. The results take 40 seconds to load. The email address has been active since 2011. It's attached to 3 accounts across different platforms. One of them is a local community forum, the kind of neighborhood board that discusses bin collection and road closures and the occasional small business recommendation. Sylvia has been a member since 2018, the year Freya and Patrick got married. Freya scrolls the post history. Most of it is unremarkable. Parking complaints, planning objections, the occasional comment on a local restaurant. But 3 times in the last 4 years, the account has commented on threads about local businesses. Once recommending a catering company, not Freya's, for a neighborhood event. once questioning whether a particular vendor was still reliable after a change of ownership. Once, 18 months ago, responding to a thread where someone had asked for catering recommendations with a single line. "I'd steer clear of the smaller outfits. You get what you pay for." The thread had been started by someone asking specifically about Freya's company by name. Freya sits with this for a moment. Then she opens a new document and starts writing everything down. She is the pattern reader. She has always been the pattern reader. She just didn't know, until this morning, how long the pattern had been running. Patrick talks to his mother on a Wednesday. Freya knows this because she hears him on the phone in the hallway at 7 in the evening. Voice low, the way it goes when he doesn't want to be overheard. She's in the kitchen. She doesn't move closer. She doesn't need to. She can hear the shape of the conversation without the words. It lasts 11 minutes. She times it without meaning to. She just happens to look at the clock when it starts and again when she hears him say goodbye. 11 minutes to address 6 years of quiet sabotage. 11 minutes. And then he comes back into the kitchen and pours himself a glass of water and says, "She didn't mean anything by it." Freya stops chopping. "She said it was just frustration. She's been worried about me, about us, and it came out wrong." It came out as a fake account, a stock photo and a 1-star review. But go on. "She's going to take it down," he says. Freya nods. The review has already been flagged for removal. The platform responded that morning. Under review, estimated 48 hours. But she lets Patrick have this. She lets him believe he fixed something. Because here is what Freya has understood, sitting with her document and her data aggregation results and 4 years of community forum post history. The review was never the point. The review was a mistake, a miscalculation, a moment where Sylvia's frustration outpaced her discipline, and she reached for a blunt instrument when she'd spent 4 years using surgical ones. 4 years of steering clear comments on neighborhood forums. 4 years of concern-shaped doubt at family dinners. 4 years of making Freya feel, in ways that were always deniable, that she was building something fragile on borrowed time. The review was reckless. The forum posts were not. And Freya is now holding both. She goes back to the document. She adds a timeline. Every incident she can date, every comment she can source, every moment where Sylvia's fingerprints are on something without being provably attached to it. She is not doing this to build a legal case. She is doing it because she is meticulous, and because she has learned that when someone has been operating in the space between what is said and what is meant, the only countermove is to make the pattern visible. Name it, date it, source it. Take away the deniability. On Thursday, the review comes down. On Friday, Freya gets a text from a number she doesn't recognize. It reads, "I think we should talk. Just the two of us. I feel like there's been a misunderstanding." No name, but she recognizes the area code. It's the same one as Patrick's family home, the number Sylvia uses when she doesn't want caller ID to show her name. Freya screenshots the text. She adds it to the document. She does not respond. This is the part that requires the most discipline. Not the compiling, not the confronting, but the waiting. Because Sylvia, without a response, will keep moving. That's what this kind of person does when they're not getting the reaction they expected. They escalate. They reach out again. They reframe. And every reach, every reframe, every unanswered text that prompts a follow-up, all of it goes in the document. Freya has 6 years of patience built into her. She can wait. The second text comes Saturday morning. "I know you're upset. I understand. I made a mistake and I'm not too proud to admit that. But I think you need to understand that everything I've ever done has been because I love my son." Freya reads it once. Then she forwards it to her own email, screenshots it, and adds it to the document under a new heading she labels Admission. Not an admission of the forum posts, Not an admission of 4 years of deliberate erosion. An admission of a mistake. Singular, contained, framed as love. But here's the thing about admissions. Once you've said you made one, you've confirmed you were present at the scene. Sylvia just put herself in the room. Patrick asks, over dinner Saturday night, if Freya has heard from his mother. Freya says yes. She says it the way she says most things. Level, clear, no excess weight on it. And, he asks. She picks up her fork. I'm still thinking about how I want to respond. Patrick nods. He seems relieved. He reads this as Freya softening, as the space between them returning to something familiar. He reaches over and touches her hand briefly, the way he does when he thinks a difficult thing has passed. Freya lets him think that. She has 4 years of forum posts, 2 screenshots, 1 timed phone call, and a document that is now 7 pages long. She is not softening. She is deciding. The third text arrives on Monday. Freya is in the middle of an invoice when her phone lights up. She finishes the line she's typing before she looks at it. This is deliberate. She has decided, sometime over the weekend, that Sylvia does not get to set the pace of this. The text reads, Patrick tells me you're still upset. I really think a conversation would help us both. I could come to you if that's easier. Come to you. The offer sounds generous. It is not generous. It is a move, an attempt to get into Freya's space, on Freya's territory, where Sylvia can perform reasonableness in person, and Patrick can hear later that she tried. She really tried, and Freya just wouldn't meet her halfway. Freya has watched this playbook run for 4 years. She knows every formation. She puts the phone face down and finishes the invoice. Here is what Freya has been sitting with since Saturday. The question is not whether to confront Sylvia. The question is whether confronting Sylvia is even the right target. Because Sylvia is consistent. Sylvia has been exactly who she is since the first family dinner, since the first concern-shaped compliment, since the first steering clear comment on a neighborhood forum. She has not changed, and she will not change, and a conversation, however well prepared, however documented, will produce another performance of reasonableness and another story about love and worry and good intentions. The variable in this situation is not Sylvia. The variable is Patrick. Freya opens the document on her laptop. 7 pages. Timeline, forum posts, screenshots, the timed 11-minute phone call, 2 texts, 1 admission. She reads through it the way she reads through a set of accounts before a big client meeting, looking for the thing she might have missed, the number that doesn't reconcile, the entry that needs a second look. She finds it on page 3. 4 years ago, 2 months after Freya launched the business, she and Patrick had an argument. She barely remembers the specifics now. Something about cash flow, about whether she'd been too optimistic with her projections, about whether the startup costs were going to be a problem. It was the kind of argument that passes. They worked through it. 2 weeks later, Patrick came home and said his mother had offered to help if they ever needed it. No pressure, just wanted you both to know. Freya had thanked him and filed it away. She looks at that entry now. Then she looks at the date of the first forum post, the one recommending a different caterer for a neighborhood event. Same month, within 2 weeks of the argument. Sylvia didn't find out about the cash flow conversation by accident. Patrick told her. And Sylvia, who had been waiting for a crack, took that information and used it. She positioned herself as a safety net, while simultaneously, in a neighborhood forum, redirecting potential clients away from the business she'd just offered to bail out. Both hands, left and right. Freya sits back. She is not angry. She wants to be clear about that. She is not operating from anger, because anger makes you move too fast. And moving too fast is how you give someone like Sylvia the reaction she's been engineering for 4 years. What she feels is something closer to clarity, the kind that comes when you've been looking at a shape for so long that you stopped seeing it as a shape. You started thinking it was just the texture of things, the way your life looks, the weather. And then one morning you step back far enough and you see the whole outline, and you understand that what you've been living inside was not weather. It was architecture. Patrick built some of it. Not maliciously. She doesn't think it was malicious. But he handed her blueprints to his mother, one conversation at a time, and never once asked himself what she was building with them. That is its own kind of harm. She picks up her phone. She doesn't text Sylvia back. She opens her calendar instead and blocks out 2 hours on Wednesday evening. Then she texts Patrick. "Can we talk Wednesday? Properly. I need to show you something." He responds in 4 minutes. "Of course. You okay?" She thinks about how to answer that. She is 6 years into a business she built alone. She has 41 reviews, 40 of them earned. She has a 7-page document and a pattern she can now see in full, and a husband who loves her and has been, without knowing it, handing ammunition to someone who knew exactly where to aim. She is not okay in the way he means. She is okay in the way that matters more. She types back, "I will be." Then she closes the calendar, opens her invoicing software, and finishes the work that was in front of her. Wednesday will come. The document will speak for itself, and Patrick, who has spent 7 years not doing the work of holding two things at once, is about to find out that the window for not doing it has closed. Wednesday comes the way consequential days always do, unremarkably. Patrick gets home at 6:15. He hangs up his jacket. He asks if she wants tea. She says yes. And while he moves around the kitchen doing the ordinary things, Freya sits at the table with her laptop open and her document on the screen and 7 pages of dates and posts and screenshots and a timed 11-minute phone call. And she waits. He sits down across from her. She turns the laptop to face him. She doesn't narrate it. She doesn't walk him through it with commentary or framing. She just lets him read. Because the document was built to be read by someone who loves Sylvia, and it is specific enough that love is not a sufficient counterargument. He reads for a long time. She watches his face do the same thing it did in the kitchen on Tuesday morning, move through expressions he can't quite control fast enough to hide. Confusion, recognition, and then something she hasn't seen before. Something that sits between grief and shame and doesn't resolve into either one. "The forum posts," he says finally. 3 of them, over 4 years. "She told me she'd taken the review down because she felt bad. She took it down because I wasn't responding to her texts. She needed a new move." He closes the laptop halfway, then stops, opens it again. This is the moment. Not the confrontation, not the document, not even the review. This moment. Patrick, sitting across from her, unable to look away from the evidence because there is no version of looking away that doesn't make him complicit in the looking away. He has spent 7 years not holding two things at once. He is holding them now. "I told her about the cash flow argument," he says. "It isn't a question." 2 weeks before the first forum post, yes. "I didn't think she'd..." "I know you didn't." And that's true. Freya has never believed Patrick sat across from his mother and handed her a weapon knowing it was a weapon. What she believes, what the document makes undeniable, is that he handed her information without asking himself what she was going to do with it, and then continued to hand her information for 4 years, because examining why that might be a problem would have required him to examine his mother. He didn't do that work. And here they are. "What do you want to do?" he asks. It's the right question. She notes that it's the right question. "I want you to understand what's been happening," she says. "Not just the review, all of it. I want you to look at the whole document and understand that this is not a misunderstanding, and it is not frustration, and it is not love coming out wrong. It's a pattern, and it's been running since the year we got married." He nods. And then, she says, I want to know if you can hold that and still be the person I need you to be. Not for my sake, for yours. Because I can keep building this business. I've been doing it with one hand tied behind my back for 4 years, and I still have 40 good reviews. I can keep going. She leans forward slightly. The question is whether you're going to keep being the leak. Patrick doesn't answer immediately. She doesn't rush him. She has learned, over 7 years, that the most important things he says come after a silence, not before one. When he speaks, his voice is different, quieter. The careful repositioning is gone. I'm sorry, he says. Not for her. For my part in it. I didn't want to see it. I know. I should have. Yes. They sit with that for a while. Not resolved. This is not the kind of thing that resolves in a Wednesday evening conversation, but present, named. Out of the space between what is said and what is meant, and into something that can actually be worked with. Freya closes the laptop. She picks up her tea. Here's what I want you to hold on to from this one. The review was 1 star. The business had 41. The fake account was 3 days old. The pattern behind it was 4 years long. And Freya found it not because she was looking for a fight, but because she was meticulous. Because she filed things. Because she paid attention. The people who operate in the space between what is said and what is meant are counting on you not to pay attention. They are counting on you to take the surface at face value and not pull the thread. Pull the thread. Not because it's comfortable. It isn't. But because clarity, even when it costs you something, is always worth more than the story you've been telling yourself to avoid it. Freya knew something was wrong before she had language for it. She filed the email address. She noted the comments. She tracked the shape of things without knowing she was tracking. And when the moment came, she had everything she needed. You already knew. You just needed permission to trust it. If there's someone in your life whose concern always seems to land in a way that diminishes you, stay with that feeling. Don't dismiss it. It's data. In the next one, we're looking at a story about a man who told his family his wife had left him. She hadn't gone anywhere. She just stopped being visible to him. What happened when she started being visible to everyone else is one of the quietest, most precise reversals I've come across, and I think it's going to stay with you. I'm Hani. People always show you who they are. Wettedy just slows it down. I'll see you in the next one.